Before we get to the story, I'd like to say thanks so much for visiting my new channel. I'm going to be uploading cosmic horror related stories every single day. So if that sounds good, please drop a like and don't forget to subscribe. It means a lot, especially when just getting started. I hope you enjoy the story. I've been orbiting a dead planet for 7 days, and something down there has been talking to me, not in words, not in any language I recognize, but talking nonetheless, a signal that pulses through my equipment, through my ship, through my bones, a rhythm that started as noise and became something else, something that knows I'm here, something that wants me to come closer. I'm not supposed to be hearing anything from this planet. Every scan, every survey, every piece of data says there's nothing down there. No life, no technology, no reason for any kind of transmission. But the signal doesn't care what the data says. The signal knows I'm listening. And it's getting harder to remember why I shouldn't answer. My name is Bryce Kittredge. I'm a survey pilot for Meridian Exploration, a private company that does preliminary assessments of newly discovered planets. My job is orbiting worlds that might be worth exploring, running scans, collecting data, and sending reports back to Halverson Station so the people with advanced degrees can decide if a place deserves a real mission. I'm not a scientist. I'm more like a truck driver who happens to work in space. Before this, I flew cargo between orbital stations. Before that, I flew freight aircraft back on Earth. I've spent my whole adult life moving things from one place to another, alone in cockpits, comfortable with silence. I took this job because the money was good, and I liked the solitude. Weeks alone with nothing but my instruments and the stars. No people, no complications, just me and the work. I've been doing solo orbital surveys for 6 years now. I've seen a lot of dead worlds, rocky planets with thin atmospheres, gas giants with no solid surface, frozen moons and scorched rocks, and everything in between. None of them ever talked to me before. The planet is called Kepler 1649c. Rocky, approximately Earth-sized, orbiting a red dwarf star about 300 light-years from home. The preliminary data said it was lifeless. No atmosphere capable of supporting life as we know it. No water, no organic compounds, just another dead rock in a universe full of them. I was supposed to spend 2 weeks in orbit, running standard surveys, then move on to the next assignment. Routine work. Nothing to worry about. That's what I thought when I arrived 12 days ago. That's not what I think anymore. I first noticed the anomaly on day 3. I was running a standard geological scan of the northern hemisphere when my instruments picked up something strange, a rhythmic pulse coming from somewhere on the surface, steady and regular, like a heartbeat. At first, I thought it was equipment malfunction, interference from the star maybe, or some kind of sensor glitch. I ran diagnostics. Everything checked out normal. I recalibrated the sensors and ran the scan again. The pulse was still there, same rhythm, same location, a specific point in the northern hemisphere, in the middle of a vast rocky plain that showed no signs of anything unusual. I zoomed in, increased the resolution, tried every scanning mode. My ship had. There was nothing visible on the surface, no structures, no formations, nothing that could explain a signal. But the signal was there, pulsing, steady, patient. I spent the next several hours analyzing it. The The pulse wasn't radio waves. It wasn't electromagnetic radiation in any conventional sense. It was something else, something my equipment wasn't designed to detect. It was registering as noise, as interference, as anomalous readings that the computer kept trying to filter out. But noise doesn't have a pattern. Interference doesn't pulse with the regularity of a metronome. I ran the signal through every analysis program my ship had, checked it against every known natural phenomenon: volcanic activity, magnetic fluctuations, atmospheric disturbances. Nothing matched. The only conclusion that fit the data was one I didn't want to accept. The signal showed signs of intentional design. Something on that dead planet was transmitting, something that wasn't supposed to exist. I sent a detailed report to Halverson Station that night, attached all my data, requested guidance on how to proceed. At this distance, the communication delay was almost 4 hours each way. I'd send a message and wait half a day for a response. That was normal. I was used to it. What I wasn't used to was the way the signal seemed to change while I waited. It was subtle at first, a slight variation in the rhythm, a shift in the pattern that I might have imagined. But the more I monitored it, the more certain I became. The signal was different when I was actively listening compared to when I wasn't. When I focused my senses on it, it grew stronger, more defined, more present. When I looked away, attended to other tasks, it faded slightly, became quieter, like it was waiting for my attention to return, like it knew when I was paying attention, like it responded to being observed. Halverson's reply came 8 hours later. Dr. Linnea Schaefer, a xenobiologist on the station's research team, had reviewed my data. Her assessment confirmed what I'd suspected. The signal had structure consistent with intentional transmission. Pattern analysis suggested deliberate design rather than natural phenomenon. But she was confused. All other data indicated the planet was completely lifeless. No capability for any kind of transmission. No explanation for what I was detecting. Her instructions were clear. Continue observation, but exercise caution. Do not attempt to respond to the signal. Do not descend to investigate. Maintain standard orbital distance and await further guidance. I acknowledged the instructions. I had no intention of going down there. Whatever was making that signal, it wasn't something I wanted to meet in person. But the signal, it seemed, had other plans. I woke up that night from a dream I couldn't remember. The first thing I noticed was the silence. My monitoring equipment had been running continuously, tracking the signal, recording its pattern. Now the speakers were quiet. I thought maybe the signal had stopped. Then I looked at the readouts, and my blood went cold. The signal hadn't stopped. It had changed. Its rhythm now matched my heartbeat. Exactly. Beat for beat. Pulse for pulse. When my heart sped up from the shock of what I was seeing, the signal sped up too. When I forced myself to breathe slowly, to calm down, the signal slowed with me. I checked the timestamp on the recording. The synchronization had happened while I was sleeping. The signal had adapted to me, had matched itself to my biology, like it was studying me, learning me, like it wanted to establish a connection. I spent the rest of that night running every test I could think of, checking for equipment malfunction, looking for some rational explanation. There wasn't one. The signal had changed to match my heartbeat, and it had done so deliberately. Over the next 2 days, The connection deepened. The signal shifted its frequency to resonate with my brainwave patterns. My equipment barely detected this. It was at the edge of what my senses could register. But I could feel it. A pressure behind my eyes when I focused on the data. A hum in my bones when I stood near the monitoring equipment. A presence at the edge of my perception that hadn't been there before. The signal wasn't just transmitting anymore. It was reaching into me. I started having dreams about the planet's surface. Vivid dreams. More real than any dream I'd ever had. I saw landscapes I'd never visited. Rocky plains stretching to the horizon under a dim red sun. Valleys carved by forces I couldn't identify. Formations that might have been natural or might have been something else entirely. In the dreams I was walking, moving towards something, a point in the distance that I couldn't quite see, but knew was there. Something was pulling me forward, something that wanted me to arrive. I woke up exhausted, like I'd been traveling all night, like the walking in the dreams had been real. And I woke up closer to the viewport than I'd been when I fell asleep, standing at the window, looking down at the planet, at the exact spot where the signal originated. I didn't remember getting out of bed, didn't remember crossing the cabin. One moment I was asleep, dreaming of red rocks and endless plains. The next, I was awake, my face inches from the glass, my breath fogging the viewport, looking down at something that was looking back up at me. I sent another report to Halverson, described everything, the synchronization with my heartbeat, the brainwave resonance, the dreams, the sleepwalking. I told them I was concerned, told them I thought the signal was doing something to me. The response took longer this time, almost 12 hours of silence while I orbited the planet, listening to a pulse that matched the beating of my own heart. When the reply came, it wasn't from Dr. Schaefer, it was from the station director himself. Abort survey immediately. Return to Halverson Station. Do not maintain orbit. Do not continue monitoring the signal. This is a direct order. The message was urgent, almost panicked, but there was no explanation, no context, no reason given for the sudden change in protocol. I sent back a request for clarification, asked what they knew that I didn't, asked why they were so afraid. I waited for a response. It never came. Hours passed, a full day, then two. Halverson Station stopped responding entirely. I sent message after message, emergency protocols, distress signals, standard check-ins, and urgent requests, and finally just pleas for someone, anyone to answer. Nothing, just silence from the direction of home. And below me, the signal pulsed on, stronger now, more insistent, like it knew I had nowhere else to turn, alone with the signal, with nothing but silence from Earth. I began to understand what it really was. It wasn't a transmission, not a message in any conventional sense. It wasn't trying to communicate information, to share data, to establish diplomatic contact. It was a summons, a call, a pull. Something on that planet wanted me to come down, had been wanting it since the moment I arrived in orbit. Maybe had been wanting it since long before I was born. The synchronization with my heartbeat, my brain waves, it wasn't communication, it was persuasion. The signal was learning how my mind worked so it could make me want to descend, It was rewriting my desires from the inside. I found myself thinking about the planet constantly, wondering what was down there, what was making the signal, what it looked like, what it wanted. The thoughts felt like my own, curious, fascinated, drawn to the mystery. But were they my thoughts? Or were they the signal's thoughts, planted in my mind, made to feel like mine? I couldn't tell anymore. The boundary between my will and its influence was blurring. I caught myself at the flight controls one evening, sitting in the pilot's seat, hands on the navigation panel, a descent trajectory half plotted on the screen. I didn't remember sitting down, didn't remember starting the calculations. The last thing I remembered clearly was eating dinner on the other side of the cabin, looking pointedly away from the viewport. Now I was here, ready to fly down to the surface, and some part of me was disappointed that I'd noticed before completing the course. The signal was in my head now, guiding my actions, overwriting my will. The worst part was how good it felt. There was no pain, no struggle, no sense of being violated or controlled, just a gentle pull, like the gravity of something warm and welcoming. The signal wasn't forcing me. It was inviting me, making me want what it wanted. That was more terrifying than any violence could have been. I tried to fight it. I locked myself out of the navigation systems, set up password barriers that I then deliberately forgot. I programmed the ship's computer to reject any descent commands without a 12-hour delay. I stopped looking at the planet, covered the viewports with emergency blankets, blocking out the red light of the star and the rocky sphere below. I turned off my sensors, cut the monitoring equipment, tried to block out the signal by any means I could think of. It didn't help. I could still feel it, pulsing in my blood, beating in my chest. The rhythm was inside me now, synchronized with my biology at a level deeper than my ears could hear. The signal didn't need equipment to reach me anymore. It was part of me. In the darkness of my covered cabin, I lay in my bunk and felt my heart beat in time with something ancient and patient and very, very far from human. On the 5th day, I realized I wasn't the first. The thought came to me suddenly, with the clarity of something I should have understood much sooner. The signal was too sophisticated, too practiced. It had known exactly how to reach me, exactly how to hook into my biology, exactly how to make me want to come closer. It had done this before, many times. I thought about all the survey missions that had come to this system before mine, the unmanned probes that had found nothing, the long-range observations that showed a dead, lifeless world. But what about the ones that got closer? What about other pilots like me, orbiting this planet, running their scans, thinking they were alone? The record said no crewed missions had ever been sent here. But records could be wrong. Records could be lost. Records could be deliberately erased by companies that didn't want to explain why their pilots never came home. I wondered how many people had heard this signal, how many had felt it synchronize with their heartbeat and resonate with their thoughts, how many had tried to resist like I was trying, how many had failed. I wondered what was waiting on that surface, a graveyard of ships, a collection of minds, something that fed on consciousness, that called intelligent beings to it across the vast distances of space. I didn't know. I might never know. But I was starting to think I was going to find out. I fought for 3 more days, but the signal never stopped, never weakened. It just grew stronger, more insistent, more present in every thought I had. My resistance was eroding. I could feel it happening, piece by piece, like water wearing away stone. Every time I thought about something other than the planet, I found myself drawn back. Every time I made a plan to escape, to break orbit, to run for home, I found reasons why I couldn't, why I shouldn't, why it would be better to stay just a little longer. The signal was patient. It had been calling for longer than I could imagine. It could wait for me to stop fighting. I stopped eating on the 6th day, not because I wasn't hungry, but because I forgot. The signal was so loud in my head that everything else faded to background noise. I stopped sleeping. Or maybe I was sleeping all the time. The dreams and waking had blurred together into one continuous state of half-awareness, always focused on the planet below, always thinking about the surface, always wondering what was waiting for me there. I wasn't sure where Bryce Kittredge ended and the signal began. Maybe that didn't matter anymore. On the 7th day, I removed the covers from the viewports. The planet hung below me, half lit by the red star, its surface a tapestry of rust and shadow. The Terminator line between day and night crawled slowly across the rocky plains, revealing and concealing in an endless cycle. It was beautiful. Had it always been this beautiful? I couldn't remember thinking so before, but now, looking down at it, I couldn't imagine why I'd ever covered the windows, why I'd ever wanted to look away. The signal pulsed through me, and it felt like coming home. I felt calm, at peace. The struggle was over. The resistance was gone. There was only the pull, gentle and warm, guiding me toward what I was supposed to do, what I'd always been supposed to do. I sat down at the flight controls. The password barriers I'd set up unlocked at my touch. The 12-hour delay somehow bypassed. Had I done that? I must have. It didn't matter. I plotted a descent trajectory, the optimal path to the signal source. The calculations came easily, like I'd done them 1,000 times before. Maybe I had. In the dreams, in the long nights when my body walked, while my conscious mind slept. Before I initiated the descent, I recorded this message. Not because I think anyone will hear it. Halverson is silent. Help isn't coming. Maybe help was never going to come. Maybe everyone who knew about this place made sure that no one would be able to reach me. But I want someone to know what happened, what's down there, what's been waiting on that dead planet that isn't dead at all. The signal isn't a discovery. It's a trap. Something on that surface is calling to minds, conscious minds, aware minds. It reaches out across the void and touches anyone who comes close enough to hear. It learns them, adapts to them, makes them want what it wants. I don't know what it is. I don't know why it does this. I don't know if it's malevolent or simply hungry, if it wants to destroy me or absorb me or something else entirely. But I know it's been doing this for a very long time. Longer than humanity has existed, probably. Longer than we can imagine. It's patient. It can wait. It's been waiting since before there were humans to call. And it will keep waiting, keep calling, keep pulling minds down to the surface long after I'm gone. If anyone hears this, don't come looking for me. Don't come to this planet. If you detect a signal, a pattern, a pulse that seems to resonate with something inside you. Run. Break orbit. Don't listen. Don't analyze. Don't try to understand. Just run. Because the signal doesn't want to be understood. The signal wants you to come closer. And once you start listening, you can't stop. I'm initiating descent now. The planet is beautiful from up close. The red light of the star catches the rocks just right, turning them into something precious, something worth seeing. I never noticed how beautiful it was before. I wish I'd looked sooner. The signal is clear now. Not through my equipment, through my mind. Direct connection, no interference, no static. Just a pure tone that feels like it's always been there, waiting for me to notice. It's welcoming me, thanking me for coming. I can almost understand it now, almost hear words in the pattern, a language that isn't human, but somehow makes sense to something deeper than language. It's been so long since anyone came, so long since a mind answered the call. It's happy, it's grateful. It can't wait to show me what's down there. The atmosphere is approaching. I can see the glow of entry beginning at the edges of my viewport, red and orange and beautiful, like the planet is reaching up to embrace me. I'm not afraid. I should be afraid. But the signal is so warm, and the pull is so gentle, and the planet is so beautiful. I'm going home. I've been traveling toward this place my whole life. I just didn't know it until now. This recording was recovered from an emergency beacon ejected by the survey vessel Vanguard, shortly before its descent into the atmosphere of Kepler 1649c. The beacon was retrieved by an automated probe 7 months after the events described. The Vanguard was tracked entering the planet's atmosphere. Its trajectory was consistent with a controlled descent toward the coordinates identified as the signal's source. No distress calls were received. No wreckage has been located. Survey pilot Bryce Kittredge is listed as missing, presumed dead. Analysis of the recording has confirmed the presence of anomalous audio patterns consistent with the signal described by Kittredge. These patterns are faint but detectable, embedded in the background noise of the transmission. Researchers who have listened to the complete recording have reported mild headaches, difficulty concentrating, and recurring dreams about rocky landscapes under red light. 3 researchers have requested transfers to other projects. 1 has taken indefinite medical leave. The recording has been classified and restricted to essential personnel only. Subsequent long-range observation of Kepler 1649c has confirmed the presence of a rhythmic emission from the planet's surface. The emission's characteristics match those described by Kittredge. The signal is ongoing. The planet has been classified as a level 5 restricted zone, pending further study. All survey missions to the system have been cancelled indefinitely. A warning beacon has been placed at the system's edge with the following automated message. Attention all vessels. Kepler 1649c is under level 5 restriction. Do not approach. Do not monitor planetary emissions. Do not attempt contact. Violators will be subject to quarantine and psychological evaluation. The beacon has been broadcasting continuously for 3 years. In that time, 2 vessels have ignored the warning and entered the restricted zone. Neither has returned. The signal continues, patient, waiting, calling out across the emptiness of space for the next mind to answer.